It's 8:08 on the Dave Elliott Show. Good morning, Monday. Happy to have you here. Glad you could stay with us throughout the morning. We're here till 10 o'clock this morning when Peter Schiff comes in to take over the big microphone and talk to you a little bit about finance and what you can do to stay ahead in the current financial situation in the world. Well, President Obama comes out of what was arguably the worst week of his presidency with his approval rating holding steady, according to a new national poll. But a CNN ORC international survey released yesterday morning also indicates that congressional Republicans are not overplaying their hand when it comes to their reaction to the three controversies that have been sort of taking over the Capitol in the last week and a half. And I'm always glad when I get a chance to spend a few minutes with my good friend and friend of this program, Bob Weiner, who is a Democratic strategist and has a list of credits as long as your arm to his name, and who's taking a little much-needed R&R. So, Bob, I'm sorry I had to take you away from your fun today, but for me, this is fun to talk about this stuff. For me,
it's torture.
I'm sure it is. That's a wonderful observation. We have Benghazi, we have the IRS, and we have the AP flaps. Which of these to you is the most serious?
The military sex abuse problems.
Oh, well, I forgot about that, yeah.
The fact that we have a jobs crisis where we're at 7.5% unemployment. The norm since post-World War II is 5%, so we have one-third more unemployment. The fact that the Republicans want to obsess over a non-cover-up of Benghazi, the fact that, by the way, Darrell Issa, the Republican oversight chair, knew about the tax issue a year ago. Nobody is bringing out that the Republicans knew about it, too, a year ago. The fact that the Justice leaks were demanded by Mike Rogers, the Republican chairman of the National Security Committee in Congress, and the leaks investigation was demanded, and so the Obama people did it because they were Yemeni terrorists. These are a bunch of non-scandals when we have absolute real issues, as I said, like military sex abuse, and above all, the jobs issue, which the Republicans obstruct absolutely everything that Obama tries to do in the Congress. So that's where I'm going on this. And so, yes, this is torture. By the way, Dave, I lived through Watergate. I worked at the Democratic National Committee at the Watergate when it was broken into, and the FBI interviewed me and all of that, and we knew that there was the president's involvement in that, because you don't break into the opposition headquarters with your attorney general spearheading it and the president not know about it, who was a political bud of the president. So we knew from the get-go that involved the president in a cover-up of obstruction of the opposition party. That was a real scandal. So don't tell me that this is like Watergate when there were a few things that have to be corrected.
Well, you have you have this new CNN poll that I mentioned showing that the president actually ticked up a couple of points in favorability ratings with the American public. 53% versus 51% in early April who say he's doing a good job, 45% who say they disapprove. So maybe the scandal is not having the effect on him that some Republicans had hoped.
Well, there's a real possibility there. By the way, they want to blame Benghazi on Hillary. Hey, ever had Hillary involved in a the Clintons involved in a scandal and see how they do, and Hillary able to defend things off? They're going to make her stronger from this, and by putting it out there now and trying to make an issue of it now, they're going to strengthen her. And yes, the overall making the Obama a victim is exactly what happened to Clinton, and it will backfire because the American people ultimately, there's today's polls, but the first election's a year and a half away, and the second one's 3.5 years away. There's lots of time for reversals. Remember how Bush one was at a zillion percent in the Iraq War, and Bush too also. These guys are in the beginning. In the beginning does not mean actually 1 year later, which is an eternity in politics.
Well, I saw Mitch McConnell yesterday on Meet the Press. I don't know if you saw him as well.
Unbelievably mean and sour.
He stonewalled on every single question. David Gregory kept trying to get him to be specific. Is this going to hurt Hillary? I'm not going to talk about 2016. It's too far away. Are you going to use this strategy in your campaign? And he refused to say, even smirking his way through it. And I'm a guy who I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but I thought he really hurt himself yesterday on Meet the Press.
Well, the Republicans with the Heritage Foundation, which is, by the way, the thinking brain of the Republican Party, saying, don't let any legislation go through, only attack Obama on scandals. No, there's something the American people really are going to like. They're not going to want to have jobs. They're not going to want to have the military dealt with. They're not going to want to have sequestration, the cuts in all the programs dealt with on a rational basis. They just want to have food stamps cut and Social Security and Medicare and education, medical research. They would just want to have all those things cut, which actually help the American people. So, people are going to get very furious about this. It is very possible that we will have, and by the way, to not do anything on background checks on guns because they obstructed that also. When you have all these mass murders and 4 of the last 5 of them were with the assault weapons and could have something accomplished, the NRA wants to say you can't accomplish anything with fill in the blank because they never want to accomplish anything with anything.
Well, you've got
we have the highest murder rate in the world and suicide rate in the world.
And you have almost 90% popular support for universal background checks. So
that's right, and obstruction on that. So I'm looking forward to the ads where we tick off the things the Republicans have obstructed.
And do you think that that strategy would be successful?
Well, with Clinton, the typical off-year election is one where the opposition party gains. And with Clinton, when they went after him for Lewinsky, it's like the Chinese fortune cookie, fill in the blank, obstruction of justice. No, it was about sex, and it was privacy of a male not wanting to discuss his sexual life. That's what the whole thing was about. You remember I was on the courthouse steps on that one when Starr even subpoenaed me. Mm-hmm. It backfired. Gingrich lost his speakership, and the Democrats gained a bunch of seats in Congress because of the victimization. So that's what the Republicans are possibly doing to themselves here too, Dave.
So you think this midterm could actually turn to a Democratic plus?
Depends if the Republicans keep it up. And some Republicans are even saying that they are overreaching. That's how I see it.
But,
complete overreach.
In this CNN ORC poll, 59% of the public say that they're not overreaching.
That's today, Dave.
I know it's today, but we're talking today.
You know how fickle the press and the polls are?
I do.
We're a year and a half away from the election. I'm telling you what I think will ultimately happen. The American people get tired of things. They got tired of Jimmy Carter, blocking the hostage thing. At the beginning, it was a crisis that he was being praised for, and finally he got blamed for it and lost the election over it. People, and that was exactly that time frame, about a year and a half later. The American people, in the space of a year and a half, reverse and rethink things, and that's what's happening. That's what I believe is going to happen here.
I want to switch gears really quickly, Bob, while I have you on the phone, and talk to you about immigration reform. This was an immigration bill the so-called Gang of Eight put together, including Florida's Marco Rubio, and he was out front. In fact, when they first released the details of this, literally I was getting 2 and 3 emails a day from him refuting what he believed were misstatements about the bill. And all of a sudden now he has gone completely silent on the immigration bill. What is happening? Has this thing blown up?
He's been back and forth. The White House constantly, and I worked in the White House for 6.5 years, and I still cover there on a daily basis. I've been with the president, by the way, 4 times in the last week during this whole crisis, at his health statement, at his Cameron news conference, at his Turkey news conference, at Jay Carney's Benghazi briefing. I've sort of camped out over there. And the White House believes that you don't know which position Rubio's taking on which day. In the beginning, he's for the immigration bill. The next day, he's demanding slow down, go to committee hearings. Now he doesn't know what to do because his Republican base is against him. Here's the deal with Rubio, which the Republicans have not figured out yet, Dave. He is a Cuban American, and the bulk of Hispanics are Mexican Americans. They don't like each other. There is an ethnic issue between the two of them. So if the Republicans are picking Rubio as their candidate, and if he has the illusion that he's really popular because of that, they got the wrong guy.
Now, that is a fascinating distinction that I had not even considered, but you are exactly right about Cuban versus Mexican. That is true. And I've experienced that firsthand with making some statements I shouldn't have made to people. But that's how you find out and you learn. You don't forget those things. But
now, in terms of the bill itself, I believe that's the one thing that actually will pass because the Republicans are desperate because they lost 70% of the Latin American vote.
Yeah.
And so they will pass a bill because that's desperately in their interest, or they know that they are losing every election from here on out. Now, are they going to make it so horrible, so punitive that they'll still lose votes because of it? It's possible. We still have to see how this thing plays out.
All right. Well, a lot more to come on this and other issues, too. I appreciate your time today. I know you're just getting wound up for the day, but always a pleasure to have you with us for a few minutes when we can grab you. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Dave, for letting me just rationally discuss a few things.
Yeah, I was so rational. I'm appalled. I'm appalled.
Thanks, Dave. Good to talk to you.
See you later, buddy. It's 8:18 on the Dave Elliott Show, and we'll be back after this.